Hi, I'm Shawn from Bean Me Up. We are a 25-year-old restaurant in Goa, and over the years, I've met some incredible people doing some amazing things. I've spent hours meeting, talking, discussing, and listening to various conversations. It is these conversations that ignite the spark in me, and it is these great souls that have inspired me to do this podcast. Today, we have with us Vijaya from Offbeat Goa. Yay! Hi, Vijaya.
Hi, Shawn.
Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome.
Yay. And wow, so I've known you for many years. I used to follow all your posts
Mm-hmm.
in the off season. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was, I think earlier you started off by posting uh, all the events that used to happen in Goa because in Goa was like the season Goa and off season Goa in the monsoon. And all of us who used to be hanging out in Goa in the monsoon used to wonder, oh, what is the fun things to do?
Mm-hmm.
And you used to curate all these events, or on your page, you used to give us all this information about all these amazing events that were happening in Goa. And that's how you started this community. I know you love this word. so, so tell us about this journey of yours from being a jet setter you were and whizzing around everywhere around the globe and to rooting in Goa and creating this amazing offbeat spaces and starting Goa's first thrift store. Wow. So you've come a long way, I think, and following like changing and we have certain things in common. Like I realized when we were talking earlier, like some like Vipassana, which transformed or made you question. You said it was conscious crisis. I like that word. So I think we all at some point go through that, and then we try to redefine what we are doing. So let's start with what I like. Let's start with your life as a jet setter, and I'm sure it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I was flying for Emirates, but that was when I was 22, 23 years old. So it was a fun job, I guess, for like a young person
Wow.
traveling all around the world.
And
And
how is it like? You just get to go to a country, a different country each time, or are you on a set route so you just go to that same country back and forth?
No, no, no. You get a roster every month with different places, and then you can swap flights if you don't want to go to a
Wow.
particular place.
So you
And
can
then you
choose if
can,
you want to go to New York, or
yeah,
you can
yeah,
choose if you want to go to Paris,
yes,
or yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
So it must be like a kid in the candy store. You're like, this month I'm going to New York,
yeah.
next month
Pretty
I'm going to
much,
Paris.
pretty much.
And do you get enough time to like go around, or are you just jet lagged all the time?
There was no real jet lag because mostly on like a 1 to 3 day layover. Towards the end of my time with the Emirates is when they just launched the A380.
Wow,
and
which is like
and
the big fancy
yeah,
ones. Yeah.
yeah,
With the
and
bar and all this thing.
yeah, and I was one of the first crew to be trained on those flights, and we were only doing New York then, so then we would
Wow.
have like a week in New York or 10 days in New York, and so that was really fun. And yeah, and then I moved back to Bombay, and then I had a photography studio there
Oh, really?
for a couple of
Wow.
years. But in my time back in Bombay, and though I did kind of grow up in Bombay, this when I came back, I didn't really feel that connection with the place. Like to survive there, you need to be like super ambitious, and like everything is very like
Yeah,
cloyy, and you have
yeah,
to like
yeah.
network and like be there and do all these things, which it was just really
I totally
uncomfortable for
understand what
me.
you're saying. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I started questioning like, what is the point in this? I'm not really feeling it, and I just constantly have to like fake this,
yeah.
person. And that's when I decided to move to Goa in 2012. So my mom and we had our house in Mumbai. We sold it and moved here because
That
we
was a
had
big jump.
family.
Like, did you come to Goa before that and think what you're going to do, or you just like it was just a leap of faith and you were just like, let's go to Goa and figure it all out?
Yeah.
What an amazing thing to do.
And we had family here, like
Ah, yeah.
my uncles and aunts and all were here. So wasn't that alien of space. But yeah, I moved to Goa in 2012, and just that whole buying house, selling house, all of that paperwork and all. I took kind of like a year off after that, and just you know, I was just like enjoying my time here. Of course, you know how it is. There's always
Yeah,
something happening, and there's some parties, and like it was such a hectic nightlife, more than I probably experienced in Dubai or in Bombay. Like over here in Goa, I think it was the most social I've ever
yes,
been in my entire life. And yeah, that was really fun. And then it got me thinking, right? Because Goa is not the place where you can go and get like some sort of corporate job or something like that. It's a very different kind of place where work is concerned. And well, I started writing for a bunch of magazines, and writing was always something that I was interested in, but it's never something that I did for work. So I realized a lot of things that I was actually good at, and I got to try out here while I was in Goa, and they turned out to be like work professions for me. So writing, digital marketing, like helping people with their marketing and stuff like that. I started doing those kind of things, and like in 2014 was when I started the group. It was because a lot of people would come down to Goa and be like, "What is happening in the off season? Oh, Goa is so boring. There's nothing
yeah.
happening, nothing happening." And I knew a lot. I knew of a lot of stuff happening, and I started the group because of that, just to like find out what I could do basically on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday. And it kind of grew from there. I didn't really think much of it. It was just a group. I made it. I didn't have any plans with it or anything.
The universe had plans.
Yeah, it was very odd because I wasn't really on social media that much myself
Vijay, I'll just
personally.
have to tell you something at this point. There's so many people who really aspire to do all, and they struggle and they would put so much effort. But in your case, it seems like you just were so consistent in what you did, and you were such a natural at it, and it all just fell into place. Like, because if you try too hard, also
Yeah,
sometimes it doesn't really happen. But
yeah,
in your case, you're just, I think, at the right place at the right
yeah,
time, and doing the right thing,
correct.
and it just
Yeah,
just
yeah.
happened.
Now that you said that, I realize that a lot of the times, when you have a plan and you start then overthinking the plan, that's when you procrastinate and be like, you start finding flaws in the plan, or like maybe I'll do it later, because you start getting a little nervous about your own plan. Rather
Yeah.
than when you have a thought, just do it,
Yeah.
and just works, doesn't work, nobody gives a crap really. And that's when things just take off. It
Yeah.
may not
Yeah.
be perfect when you start, but it it,
Of course, then
it
you have
moves in
to.
the direction it's
Yes.
meant to move in. And I think that's how, at least whatever I've done till now, sort of has all started like that. I'd never overthought it. The part of it that I do overthink, I have not actually done anything with. I'm still like, no, I don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's right enough, whatever. But the stuff that I was like, this just feels like right, let's just do it. Those are the things that have taken off. So yeah, with this group, it was just a group. I never thought much of it, but a
And
lot of people
then there was so
started
much of
joining.
traction that
Yeah,
happened. There was so much of communication that happened on
yeah, a
the
lot of
group. A
engagement.
lot of
A lot
engagement. A
of
lot
people
of
were very
people started
helpful.
to
And,
understand with what's happening in Goa, and a lot of businesses started to come
yeah,
to you and start to their promotions and
yeah,
things
yeah,
like that. And then I think, and it was doing pretty good.
yeah,
And then COVID hit
yeah,
at some point.
yeah.
And then COVID, then and you did some phenomenal job in COVID, you guys, and thank you for that again. Like, so you really, there was all this migrant crisis that happened in Goa. A lot of people were stuck here, and they were really held at ransom by some of these builders that they wanted, because there was this big real estate boom that was happening during that time, and they wanted this, and there was a big inventory of real estate that was opening up, and they wanted this migrants, but the migrants wanted to leave, so they were like in a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
And tell us about that. And you really helped them, from food to getting them on trains to getting them back to where their villages, and
Yeah.
it must have
I
been
wouldn't
hectic.
say it was me. It was, although, like, okay, a bunch of us sort of initiated it, but I always will call it like a citizen initiative. because in that moment when COVID had just hit, or like the lockdown just hit, it was everyone was going through this food crisis. Nobody had food, and at that point in time, everyone who had access to social media was tweeting or putting posts about it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc., etc. And Sanjeev, Nupura, and I sort of like started this Goa Humanitarian helpline. It all just started. It was all on the fly. It was nothing that we had planned to do, right? It was like disaster
Yeah, of
management.
course. It had to be
And
done by somebody, and
yeah,
instead of being like, oh, somebody has to do it,
yeah,
you are that somebody who needs
yeah.
to do it, and you guys did it.
Yeah, and I put a post out on Offbeat Goa asking for volunteers, and 200 plus people signed up with various skill sets and various,
Wow.
amazing things that they contributed towards this cause. So they were, like Varun from Soul Traveling, Make It Happen, like everybody, every single person in Goa, because nobody was sort of
Contributed.
working
Yeah,
at that
yes.
time, right? Everyone got together, everyone was so involved. So it wasn't, I won't take credit for anything, because I really feel like everybody just got so involved and was so helpful. And that really restored my faith in humanity. Because until that point, I was like turning to some sort of misanthrope. I was like, my God, people suck. But that really like shifted my feeling towards people. And beyond that point, once the food crisis kind of settled down, it did turn into a migrant laborer crisis. And that's when I sort of realized the huge divide between the haves and the have nots, because they didn't have access to social media to tweet or complain
Yeah.
about their problems, right? They didn't have Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. But because we were sort of speaking to them,
You
I would
understood
get to
all their
hear like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
So at
they'll
the
be like,
root level, you
yeah, they were
understood the
stuck
crisis.
over here. They couldn't go home. They were missing their families. They were like stressed, no food, no money, no nothing. And so we were doing ration distribution for like huge numbers of people every week. Then also helping them on those trains. And but yeah, it gave me like a huge understanding into different kinds of problems that people have. And I think the frustration or the utter like I was very upset about seeing things, and I couldn't unsee what I had seen. And not just that, there were a lot of things, right, about the COVID that sort of became quite apparent in
Yes.
the larger picture as well. So that was really very frustrating and very like antagonizing to me. But at that
The
point in time, I
pandemic.
just so many things, yeah. But yeah, I think it's at that point in time where I just decided, instead of sitting here and complaining about problems, how can you sort of contribute towards the solution? Because you can see what solutions are possible, and how can you work towards
Yeah.
those things. And that's when in 2020, so the Good Karma Treasure Shop, the
Yeah,
store
and
and
then
all
I
of
think,
that.
and then you started this amazing initiative,
Yeah,
the first thrift store in Goa,
yeah,
and then you again put out a message out there to the community saying that, hey, I'm looking for a space.
yeah,
And Jeet and myself at that moment were planning to do gratitude
yeah,
and Anjuna. And we said, like, why don't we share the space with Vijaya? And you started your first thrift store in Goa.
yeah,
What an amazing initiative again.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And that was the need of the hour again, because people with today, the conversation I was having with Sanjeev yesterday, and for those who don't know, Sanjeev is the podcast, the previous podcast that I was talking about from Sensible Earth.
hmm,
So we fast fashion today, consumerism, fast fashion, with all these things are really taking a toll on the environment, creating water scarcity, creating a larger carbon footprint. So all of this can be eliminated by just fixing our clothing, or re-dyeing our clothes, or just passing down our clothing, our really good clothes
yeah,
to somebody else, especially if you have kids and things, and they grow out of those clothes, or teenagers,
yeah,
So, but people, we can talk about this for hours or days, but to actually put this in motion is where you actually come in, and you actually did it, and you actually put it, and it's quite a thriving place, and it is still happening. I think this weekend you are having a big thrift thing happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the Good Karma Treasure Shop, honestly started in 2016 December, because I wanted to minimize. When I was flying, I was an insane consumerist, and I tell people the story. Like when I moved back to Bombay, I had 97 pairs of
You are
shoes.
like back. Oh wow.
Yeah, and I went with 50 kilos, came back with like 72 cartons that I had to like ship and air, send it by air, and like God knows what. It was like insane. But yeah, at that point in time, in 2016, I was trying to minimize, and I wanted to get rid of my stuff, and a lot of it was branded with tags on, and I didn't know who to give it to, because normally you'd give it to orphanages, old age homes, and obviously they would have no like use for my
Yeah.
clothes. So that's when I got a bunch of friends together, and I put it out for other people also who wanted to donate, and I had a sale, and the proceeds of that we gave to the orphanage, because obviously people need money more than they need like clothes and stuff. And then I started doing that as a pop-up every couple of months at different places. And yeah, in 2020 I still had like a box of inventory left over there, like
Wow.
and I didn't know what to do with it. I tried an online model, like because COVID was still kind of on,
Yeah.
and people were still a bit skeptical about like going on things. Online didn't really work, because with thrifting, it's like you have only one piece of clothing, right? So like the energy required to shoot it, put down all your measurements, put down the description and everything for like a piece of clothing that's like 300 or 400 rupees or 200 rupees didn't make any sense. So it's and a lot of people actually wanted to come and see the clothes, which is when I just had this like like just a thought. I didn't even overthink it, like I said. And I just went on the Offbeat Goa group, and I asked if anyone had space, and you got back. And yeah, it was such,
Great.
and I kept thinking this is such a lovely like coming together of two brands.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
is called Gratitude, and the other is called Good Karma. It seems like such a match made in heaven, kind of. I was like,
Nice.
wow, that's so lovely and all that. And it actually was really
And it really took
nice.
off.
It was
It was
so,
good. Yeah, it was
it
really
was a
quite.
lovely experience. Having the store there, and
And you
the deal
created
that
some
was
events
done.
there as
Yeah, I
well.
would do
You
the
still do
market.
the
Yeah,
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 the
the New
market,
Earth gathering, which happens
the
again
New Earth
once a month.
gathering. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The market again is meant to promote sustainability. All your substitutes for single-use plastic and everything is
So for
biodegradable.
those of you who are in Goa and are looking to do something like sustainable, or this is a good market to be, and from household products to clothing to
Yeah,
food
yeah,
to like many products
yeah,
are like and made mostly by locals
yeah,
and local businesses.
yeah.
Such a good initiative. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so we did that for a couple of years, and now we've moved to the Offbeat Goa space, which is also in Anjuna, and that
Just round the
houses,
corner
yeah,
from
just
us.
around the corner.
Yeah,
So
literally.
Anjuna is actually
Yeah.
like not as bad as people think it is, but
This is the
yeah,
good side of
I
Anjuna.
know. Yeah, there's so much of nice stuff actually over here. So it's where that the Offbeat Goa space sort of like houses all our initiatives.
Such a nice space you have now also. Yeah, you have got your store on the top.
Yeah,
There's a cafe
yeah.
down, and
The salon.
there's a salon.
That's
Yeah,
my brother and sister-in-laws, but we do all the events and stuff at the back. So the
and
market,
your space is very
concerts,
inclusive. It's
meetups.
a safe space
Yeah.
for people from all.
It's meant to be a community space. And the reason why I always wanted to open an offline space is because, we live now these very nuclear lives online. And they say, loneliness is like now the biggest epidemic. It's
Yes,
a big
yes,
killer.
yes.
And earlier, people used to have more community in terms of like joint families and all of
Yeah.
that. Now we are
And
like
even
one.
neighbors and all these people
Yeah,
used to actually communicate with neighbors, have a pretext of taking salt or sugar
yeah,
or something and oil or something and talk to them and
yeah.
engage.
People
Now
would have
people
their
don't talk to
doors
their
open,
neighbors. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
and now that's
people are
not the
lonely.
case. Yeah, and everyone sort of needs that support system.
Yeah.
And there are different aspects of needs that people have. So the idea is to create like meetups or safe spaces where
So you
people
have
come
no
together.
judgment karaoke. How cool is
Yeah,
that?
yeah. We have a judgment-free karaoke on
Yeah.
Wednesday. Again, the idea behind that is, like we are so conscious about our singing. Like it's like, oh my god, I sing badly, or if I sing well,
Yeah.
then there's like I have to be like some
Or I have to have a few
auditioning for
drinks
the
and only then
voice.
I can sing like yeah.
Yeah. And but actually, what singing does is it regulates your nervous system, your
Yeah, 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 it releases a
your
good
feel good
chemicals. Yeah.
hormones, and it opens up your throat chakra. There are many things
Absolutely,
that singing
absolutely.
actually does beyond just like sounding good to people. And that's the whole idea behind this judgment-free karaoke. Because what I notice is a lot of people who come in, they'll be like, no, 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 I don't sing, I don't sing. But towards the end of the evening, they're like, hey, can I sing a song? Because they can feel that it's like judgment-free really, and it's quite inclusive. And
How
they
nice.
sing, and they always pretty much have like a pretty good voice. And I'm like,
Yeah,
because we are all judging ourselves more than other
yeah,
people.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
all
yeah.
about self-judgment, right?
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
not good enough. I'm this, I'm that. Whereas if you just let go, and I'm like, it's 3 hours in a week where you can just come and let go and sing, okay? You're not auditioning for some Broadway production or anything. It really doesn't matter. Sing for yourself, because I can't tell you the number of people who have come there and it was the first time they've actually sung in their entire life.
Wow.
And they're like, oh,
And
it's
they
not
feel
that
good about it.
bad. Yeah, they feel good about it. And they feel like, no, you feel like you're included somewhere, which I think is an important feeling to have for people.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the whole, like, nothing is random, I don't think. At least whatever I'm trying to put in place, it's not like something I just, there is some sort of like thought process behind it.
Now let's backtrack to what we were like earlier discussed. I think like Vipassana. I didn't think we didn't discuss that. So you had some kind of conscious crisis, like you said earlier. And I think we all go through this thing. At some
Yeah,
point, we have a career. A career is really thriving.
yeah,
It's all good,
yeah,
but we realize that there's something lacking within us, or
right,
there's something the happiness quotient is not there.
right,
On paper, it's all good. Like, oh, Vijaya is a jet setter, you know, Paris one week, New York the other week, but inside you feel something is missing, that one piece.
yeah,
And then you find it, and most people that I found that happiness or the ikigai
mm,
was in meditation or
right,
yoga
yeah,
or whatever, painting or
yeah.
so, but you said, can you elaborate on like that? Because for me, I'm very curious now. Because for me, it was the same experience
Yeah.
where I did my first Vipassana, and then a lot of stuff came to me
Mm,
to simplify my life. Because
yeah.
I think we go out of our way to complicate our life because that is so considered to be cool,
Right.
to be a go-getter,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to prove yourself in your career, to be the top of the ladder, and all these things, which I think are myths. Because once you reach there, you realize that the happiness quotient is missing.
Yeah.
And the true happiness comes from connecting with the soil, getting your hands dirty, being more local, and yeah, things like that. Not
Yeah.
living in an urban space where
Right.
you're disconnected.
Right.
Uh, Being close to the earth microbiome, and in my previous podcast I've discussed that, and there's scientific reasons for that,
Right.
you know which you are disconnected when you're in the city. Your
Yeah.
food chain is disconnected,
Yeah.
your water system is like so controlled and
Right.
manipulated,
Right.
your lifestyle is compromised,
Yeah.
uh, and all that. Over here we had the chance to reflect and think
Right.
about and work on ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that change occurs through a medium.
Yeah.
So tell us about this journey of yours, which the shift happened.
Yeah. That's very true. You don't really have this opportunity to try things out or think, or even have the space to think or question anything when you're in the city, because you're so go 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 all the time, right? And I think in about 2015, they say you have like this really dark moment before, like you have this revelation. And I think I was having my dark moment, and things started shifting around 2015. Then I started having all of these, like, sort of more spiritual realizations about things. And in 2015, 2016, again, when you're not sort of on the path that you're supposed to be on, you start experiencing resistance, or things are not really working out, and you're trying to force things, but they're not feeling right, or they're just not working out for you. And then you again maybe start blaming yourself instead of saying, okay, let go. Maybe this is not for me, but what is for me? I don't know. So it was one of those moments, and I was trying to go for Vipassana for many years. Like my brother and sister-in-law had done Vipassana in the 90s and all that. And I didn't even really know what Vipassana was, all beyond the fact that they had gone for Vipassana. But at that moment, I was like, just sign up, sign up, sign up, and just go. And luckily, I got a spot,
Wow.
and I went, and it was quite life altering for me, in the sense I came back and I really sat in meditation for about a month after that. And that's when I had this realization that, like, purpose, or like, what feels right to me is not service to self, but service to others. And I think that sort of like just clicked, because from there is when the trajectory changed, right? I started working with Daryl. I started, helping Nancy with the Shala 142.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
started doing those markets. I started like things started things organically started shifting. It wasn't like, okay, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to be doing in 1 year, and 2 years, and 3 years, and 4 years.
But
I was just
automatically you
allowing.
start doing
Yeah,
things that are aligned
yeah,
with humanity and with
correct.
with the right things.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And in 2018 is when I was like, okay, this off-season Goa group is just growing bigger, bigger, and bigger, and bigger, and bigger. What am I supposed to do with it? It has this very limiting sort of name, right? Like the
Yeah,
off-season is
yeah,
just
yeah.
3-4 months of the year, but people are
And there
posting
was no
throughout
more
the
off
year.
season, so to speak,
Yeah,
in Goa. It was like
yeah.
Goa started to thrive all year round.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And people were also posting through the year. So I just changed the name. Again, it was just like I just woke up in the middle of the night, like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to change
wow,
this
you
name.
have a eureka
I'm just
moment
going to change it.
very often.
And yeah, and because everything that I was doing sort of happened to, like, obviously, because I was more aligned to sustainability and all of those things by then. This was 2018, and I had a much clearer idea of what I was trying to do with my life. So I umbrellaed all of them under the Offbeat Goa umbrella, right? So now there's Good Karma, there's New Earth Gathering, and there's the Offbeat Goa Space, and there are
Yeah.
all of these other initiatives, these meetups, and all that, which happened, which I've just umbrellaed under the Offbeat Goa
Wow.
initiative. And yeah, it sort of just it really took off from there, and things started like shaping up. And again, I'm just like trying things, doesn't work, no problems, try something else, like whatever feels right. Because I realize that's the thing with purpose, or that's the thing with finding something that you're really connected with. A lot of the time your mind is telling you, I have to do it, and it has to look a certain way, and you have to be sort of conscious of, like, am I doing this for other people's tick marks, or am I doing this for
Right.
myself? Because a lot of the times then you may try and force it to be a certain way, but it may not work out. And that's when you have to just detach, let go, and say, like, that's fine. We also put a lot of pressure on failure and success.
Yeah.
Failure and success, again, is another societal construct,
Yes.
because you learn a lot from failure. That's where your biggest life
Yes.
lessons are.
Absolutely.
If everything is always rosy and perfect, you're never going to evolve as a human being, right? You always evolve and grow and
And
learn
then the
only
ego
from
comes in
trying.
there. If you're,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it has to be.
Yeah, so if
There.
you disconnect from all these things and just stick to like what feels right and what's not feeling right, and I'm not really like hinging on people's opinions of me and whatever.
Wow.
That's by the way, whatever. But yeah, disassociating from that, but staying true to what feels right, and letting go of things that may not be working, that may not feel right in that moment. Things just sort of like start moving. Like there's a better flow, I think, that starts happening.
Awesome. And what is the message that you would like to give to the people who are watching this video? let's say, about consumerism, for example, because you are in that space today
Yeah.
where you can give them advice about thrifting
Yeah.
or starting if they don't have a thrift store near them,
Yeah.
but they would like to do, what tips or advice that you like to give to make sure that we are creating less waste with our
Yeah.
clothing mostly,
Yeah.
or with bags or anything.
You know what? There's this study now that says that the amount of human-made stuff has outweighed nature. So that's very scary, and I think like people who have kids or want to have kids or they're whatever, they really need to start thinking about this, because what I realize is people are very, especially now with this capitalist, consumerist sort of world that we're living in, they're very short sighted. It's all about instant gratification and getting that quick dopamine hit, right?
That
We're not,
Amazon thing is
yeah,
just right there, like Sanjeev mentioned yesterday.
yeah,
Today, the Amazon order will give you it'll highlight in big letters the EMI amount that you have to pay for that product.
yeah,
But you're not paying that today, whatever you're paying for your clothing at H&M or Zara or
yeah,
your brands,
yeah,
you're not paying the intrinsic value of it.
no,
You are the actual value of cutting down that tree, the resources that is actually
yeah,
the people
yeah,
who are not being paid fair wage
right,
in Bangladesh
right,
or in some remote part of
right,
India who's
right,
stitching your clothes. They're not paid a fair wage. Their children are not going to a good school.
no,
They can barely have a nutritious meal. So you are not really supporting
not at all.
you're not paying a fair amount
Yeah,
to that. Just because somebody has decided that you could buy a cheap product and use it and dispose it very quickly
yeah,
because it is not very expensive.
yeah. It's there's like a T-shirt takes 27,000 liters of water.
Yeah.
Pair of jeans like 37,000 liters of water just to make. The amount of chemical being used and then being dumped into the oceans, the unfair labor,
Yeah.
like extracting labor from poor developing countries and children. Like everything about it is misaligned, but it's everything is just for profit, and the profit of a very few bunch of people at the top. Nobody else is gaining anything from any of it,
Yes.
right? And it's like when you start questioning stuff like that, and this whole advertising and consumer behavior, right? Just because somebody needs to make profit, they're selling things at 200 and
Wearing
300
your
rupees.
Dolce Gabbana or your
Yeah,
Nike or your
yeah, of
Gucci,
course. Your
like
identity is now based on
what
what
you,
car you're driving,
what
what clothes
brand
you're wearing,
you're
what
wearing.
brand my sunglasses are, my bag is, and all. It's stupid, and ideally, we need to say, like, like literally one big F you to this entire system. If you want to continue living here, or rather, you want your children to continue living here and have some air to breathe and soil and water that they can actually consume, you need to start thinking about your choices at this point in time, because this is doing nothing other than destroying our planet. Our resources are getting consumed very, 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 very fast. All of these pieces of clothing, and because they're mixed blended fabrics,
A
you
lot of
really
plastic.
can't do
Most of
anything
the
with it.
fabrics, if they're
Yeah,
not cotton, have got plastic in them.
nothing. It'll either go to a landfill or to an incinerator, or to like poor countries where they get bailed and their countries are getting ruined and
Yeah.
destroyed, but like first world countries are sort of just creating and dumping. It's
Yeah.
everything is
They are such
messed up
holier than
about
thou, but
this.
all their waste is coming to
Yeah,
the other countries.
everything about this entire system is messed up. So if you really want to solve the problem, the best thing to do is not consume, to minimize your consumption. The second best thing you can do is shop secondhand, because you're elongating the
The
lifespan of
lifespan.
a piece of clothing, right? So instead of wearing it once, twice, and going to a bin, it's going to the next person, and then maybe the next person will also donate it. So the lifespan of that thing will go on. What we do at the Good Karma is like even the stuff that we get that may not be able to get sold, we give it off to recycling facilities or to people who will upcycle it. We also have an upcycling section at the store. Like we encourage brands who upcycle and then we sell them. So Makanaka Plastic is also
Ah.
at the store, and a whole other bunch of
Or
brands.
Sanjeev, or give it to Sensible Earth, I think. They're
Yeah,
making
Makanaka
Thelas. Yeah,
Plastic. Yeah, those bags and like Eco Curry and
yeah.
different brands. We have people selling.
Fantastic. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is the beauty of living in Goa. We have
Yeah.
got all these amazing facilities
Yeah.
where we can live sustainably.
Yeah.
But if you're not in Goa, then please come to Goa and visit us.
Yeah. And we
And
also give 25% proceeds to different local NGOs from there. So
oh
it's not
wow!
just
So all
about,
your yeah. So when you're shopping at Good Karma, all
yeah,
the proceeds, 25% of the proceeds go
25% go
to
to a different local
charity.
NGO every month. And it's all local because for us it's about keeping it in the local economy, helping the people who are doing good work in Goa but may not have a social media presence or they do need funds. So we don't just give them money, we also, share what they're doing, what they need, how people can also help them out. So raise awareness about people doing good work within the community. So it's all about keeping things very circular in nature
Awesome.
and not just looking at profit for profit, but also how you can make your business more socially impactful. Because I think that's the way of the future. Not just obviously everyone needs money to survive and to employ and to like do a whole bunch of things. But we have to really question the idea of capitalism and profitability. Like, how can you do that, but not at the rate of like
How much can
destroying
you push?
everything around
Yes.
you?
How much can you? Yeah.
Yeah, how can you help while still doing what you need to do? Because obviously, for
And
them,
you
it's a
are a
very
perfect
important.
example of how it can be done. And if more people and more brands support you, then it will, I'm sure it will thrive further and we'll be a happy place, much
Yes,
happier place than it is
inshallah.
now. So thank you so much, Vijaya, for coming and spending your precious time with us.
You're very
I'm
welcome,
very
Shawn.
grateful that you came and you shared your words of
Happy
wisdom and
to.
your knowledge with us and continue to do what amazing things that you're doing.
And
And
you
we'll love
too.
to support you
Yeah, thank you.
in whatever way we can.
Thank you.
Thanks.